WCLN 1170 Radio and Star Communications Channel 16 proudly present the We Should Know Show, an upbeat, informative look at people, places, and issues facing our community. This education-based analysis of issues will remain positive and informative. Now, here's your host, J.W. Simmons, as we consider closely what we should know.
Welcome back. We Should Know's on there. I want to thank you for being with us today. I'm J.W. Simmons, your host. We're coming to you on Star Communications TV, Channel 16, simulcast on WCLN Radio. Today, we have a conversation in mind for everyone, and it deals with something that occurred a while back, and it's called Hurricane Helene. Destroyed the lives, homes, families. We're talking thinking to start with, maybe around $53 billion, according to the State Office of Budget and Management. Most recent data that comes out from that office as of December 13 is that we're looking at probably 56 plus billion dollars just in financial. The folks we have with us today is Christy Sessoms with Helping Hands. That name is familiar to a lot of folks. Norman McPhail, the Grateful Shed, of Christian Food Bank, and the efforts that he makes, and of course, Pastor Clay Carter with the Baptist Men. Thank each of you for being here and joining this conversation. You've been to the area that we're speaking about numerous times. You have contributed personally, your time, effort. As the old saying goes, you got dirt under your fingernails from helping. I want to start the conversation with what you have seen and then move it from there to literally wherever we need to go. But this is a big event. And Chris, I'll start with you because with Helping Hands, it's one of the organizations, like everybody's organization here, is when something happens 9 times out of 10, you're either already there or you're trying to figure out what's going on. How did this strike you, and of the times you've been so far, just kind of talk about what you've seen?
I think probably the biggest impact for me was being at the distribution center and watching people come in wanting food. They didn't care what it was. They just needed food in their home. We took 75 boxes plus of cereal, and they were gone by 5 o'clock that day. There's just that many people that don't have financial to get food or know where to get it. Places aren't open yet that they can go purchase food, nor do they have a car to go get it. So usually when they come, somebody else has brought them so that they can get food. We had several people come up that needed financial help. They were being evicted from where they were living because they didn't have money to pay the rent, or they needed utilities turned on and they didn't have money to do it with. So the girls that we spoke to have drained their own finances trying to help these people out. And we need to be able to help these people. But it's enough to make you want to cry when you get away from it, to see the devastation on their face and to think they're looking to you for strength because they don't know where else to look. They're not getting help. So they just need help and they don't know what to do.
Clay Carter, pastor, Rowan Baptist Church, Baptist Men. You've been engaged in some time in a lot of events like this. What's different about the event that you have been and seen, and what are the Baptist Men looking at when they see that on hands visual in the western part of the state?
Well, it was, like Chris says, it was utter devastation. I was in the Hendersonville area, which we branched out to Asheville and Arden and that area. And a lot of homes devastated. But as of today, the Baptist Men, I brought some statistics, and as of now, they served over 500,000 meals. And the Baptist Men have what's called Manna 1, Manna 2. There's these mass feeding units. There's been 12,000 volunteers and 5,000 recovery jobs that have been done. Now they have transitioned into the rebuild phase. This is through the North Carolina Baptist on Mission. And teams can go up now and volunteer their time to do rebuild. This is to get the homeowners back into their home, a functional sanitary home. It's not completely done, but it's safe. And it'll keep them out of the elements of the wintertime.
Norman, I'm sitting here thinking, you know, you've been involved with the Grateful Shed for quite some time. You've been involved with the Christian Food Bank. You obviously in your business are connected with churches throughout, I don't know, I guess the world, but at least in North Carolina. How is your established connections and your in touch with the various service organizations you're involved in helped you and folks that are aligned with you to care for and be at the right place at the right time in this situation?
Well, we started the food bank 15 years ago, and then the Lord called us to do outreach outside of our community. So when there is a natural disaster, be it hurricane in Texas, Florida, or our own coast, the tornadoes in Kentucky we help with. We've actually been to Louisiana when they had the floods, all these places. We've worked on churches in those communities. Mm-hmm. And we can look back in our files and find out exactly where this hit. And we can call a particular church pastor or committee and ask them what their needs are. Because their congregants in their community coming to them, and they can relate to us what they need at that time. Because the needs change over time. Mm-hmm. Like to begin with, in Asheville, they needed some generators. Then they specifically needed generators with electric start, or some of these were elderly people. They can tell me exactly what they need. What something comes to mind, we called this one particular church, and they said our community right around us was not that affected. But we have a couple in our church that needs a particular formula for their child, and we can't find it anywhere. And we were able to order that on Amazon and have it shipped to them because the regular formula would make the child sick. But this one-on-one relationship we have with these communities has been paramount to what we do. It was God set up and God ordained.
What we're really seeing here, I mean, just the common thread through each one of us, in particular y'all, and working together here is this sense of what Norman just spoke to, which is the faith-based recognition of this. This is, and not that y'all are not doing a lot of great things, but there's a lot of people and a lot of faith-based organizations stepping up. What are some of the things you're seeing? I know, Chris, you were involved with foster care group, and these are children, and from my understanding, they were just totally devastated. Give us, from your perspective, what really needs to be looked at, not only what you have done, but what folks need to look at going forward. How did they find their window or their door to help, to reach out?
That's hard to answer because it's really something you have to spend time in prayer about. You've got to be able to ask God to put you in the direction you need to go and what is it He wants you to do. There's so many needs up there, from the foster home that lost the entire kitchen. So they're having to provide food somewhere else, and it's hard for them to get it because there aren't facilities open. It's just so massive. You think of all the businesses. You know, I think, what if a flood took my business out? What would I do? Where would I start? You know, who would I turn to? So they really don't, it's really hard to say. Really, it's just something you have to pray about or get with your WM group or your church and just say, what would you like to focus on? What direction do you want to go? And that's where you go. You just let God direct you where He will tell you where He wants you. There's no doubt He will open the door and connect you with the people you need to go. I think one of the things that I hear a lot is, I've already done that, or I've already given to that. Mm-hmm. They don't, because they're not seeing it. They're not realizing these people are going to be years into this. I mean, years. The food need is huge. I just got a text from one of the distribution centers we work with that they needed canned food of anything. They didn't care what it was. So it's huge still. They still are people that need food just to survive.
Wow. So are y'all seeing people that literally are reaching that point of, I don't want to use the word starvation, but that point of just being totally decimated? They don't have even water or anything granular of food. I mean, is it that bad in some of the areas? And if it was, has it improved any?
From what I've seen in my visits, it has improved. The problem is, and what's different about this is the logistics of it. You know, of these places that flooded, of course, there's a river or a stream that rose to the point, and there's bridges out, and you have to drive long distances. And to begin with, there was a lot of trees on the road. It's getting to those folks, and then those folks having to get to and from to get the needs they have.
Was it when you talk about those kinds of things, there's this sense, I guess it's a mental picture here, of anticipating, I'm wanting to do this, or folks may be watching this show or listening to this show today, and they're saying, I feel like I need to do something. Chris, you pointed out they can make a donation, that kind of thing. But Clay, with churches and what the Baptist men are doing, is there a way they can go to their church, yes, say another denomination, maybe it's not the Baptist men, maybe it's, I don't know, Methodist, Presbyterian, whatever. Is there a way that they can say, hey, we want to help this church because maybe we don't have enough people to go do it, but yet we could reach out and help this group? And same thing for y'all. I want to kind of look at that when we come back from this break and get folks, I guess, into that mindset that the willingness comes first to do something, yes, and the action follows that. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back in a moment. We're talking about what's going on in the western part of the state. People are still in dire need. Stay tuned. We'll be back in a moment.
Computer viruses, malware, and ransomware are out there. They're dangerous, and they can steal your identity and damage your equipment. Star Communications is now offering Protect IQ. The service adds an extra layer of protection to every device connected to your network, working quietly in the background. Star can help you protect yourself from the inside out with Protect IQ. Call Star today and take advantage of this free service when you sign up for whole home Wi-Fi with Star Communications.
How can your friend save you money? It's easy. Refer a relative, coworker, neighbor, or friend to Star Communications. Friend signs up for high-speed internet service. Friend's new account is confirmed. Friend gives your name to our service representative as the one who referred them to Star. You receive a $30 internet credit. It's just that simple. And even better, receive a $30 internet credit for every referral that results in a new confirmed account. High-speed internet from Star Communications. Refer a friend today.
Unity in the community. January 18th, State of Opportunity North Carolina presents The Dream Lives On March here in the city of Clinton. Starts at 9 a.m. at the Farmers Market. It's going to be great.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We Should Know's on there. J.W. Simmons, your host. The name of the show is We Should Know. We're talking with some folks today about what's going on in the western part of the state, particularly about those areas that are impacted and continue to be impacted. We're talking with Chris Sessoms with Helping Hands, McPhail, Grateful Shed, and Christian Food Bank, and of course, Pastor Clay Carter with Rowan Baptist Church and the Baptist Men. We went to break. One of the things off break we were talking about is that how do I engage? There's people maybe listening today, and we've gone through just kind of a general commentary about what's happening, and somebody says, well, I really feel, and whatever's driving it, if it's not faith, maybe it's guilt. I don't know. But maybe, just maybe, somebody says, well, maybe I could do a little bit more. Or I've got a week off and I can do something. I'll start with you, Clay. What could they do? What can somebody do if they don't want to do it themselves? What can they do to help you?
Oh, that'd be great. Well, they can go to the North Carolina Baptist on Mission website and click on Hurricane Helene. And they can click on there either to donate, which all the funds are going directly toward the Hurricane Helene victims, or they can sign up to go and do a couple of days or a week and be involved in a rebuild program. Right now, the NC Baptists have set up 7 different sites across Western North Carolina. These are called rebuild sites. In this site, a team can go and stay for a week, 2 weeks, a couple of days, whatever. They'll have laundry there, feeding units there, sleeping arrangements. All you do is take your team. It's free. The only expense you'll have is traveling there, and they'll assign you to a house that's on the program to be rebuilt. And you'll be given instructions as far as what to do, whether it be putting up drywall, putting in insulation, putting in new flooring, or kitchen appliances. That is through what's called the Essential Rapid Repair Program they're doing, which will be going on for the next 2 or 3 years. I'm looking into going back sometime this spring, getting a team together to go back this spring to go and do it. You don't really have to have construction experience per se. If one of your team members does have some experience, that'd be great. It's more of on-the-job training, and you get to be the hands and feet of Jesus. So either they can contact me at Rowan Baptist Church, or they can go on to the NC Baptist website, and they can click a link and they can sign their team up to go. And it doesn't have to be Baptist. When I was there a couple weeks ago as a site coordinator in Hendersonville, I had teams there from Pennsylvania, Vermont, Indiana, teams doing chainsaw work. So it doesn't have to be Baptist groups. Anyone can go and serve.
How do we do this and make sure that we are, to Clay's point, is this idea that we're doing the right thing at the right time for the right people? I mean, because you got 100,000 people comes and says we're going to help, and what he was just pointing out, you got to have somewhere for them to stay. You got to feed them. And Norman, with the Grateful Shed, y'all can feed a lot of people, but that's a lot of people to try to feed. Yeah. So kind of help us. What do you see when we're in this conversation about, I want to help, but where do I put my hand?
Well, our main mission is the Christian Food Bank of Salemburg, and you can contact us on Facebook. My phone number's on there, and you can get in touch with us about our next trip and the needs that we're trying to meet. You can also bring food and relief items to the food bank in Salemburg. Salemburg's not that big, you can find it. So that's the food bank there in Salemburg. You can contact us. Someone will meet you there at your convenience if you want to donate non-perishables or relief items, anything to help with the winter, be it heaters, sleeping bags, coats, and we'll make sure to bring those items and get them to the people who need it.
Chris, you allowed me some time back to, and we had a conversation. You were up there, and I had a conversation with 3 people that you introduced me to, and I could feel a sense of joy from them, which sounds a little bit strange with what they were going through. But what the joy I felt from them was, there's somebody here that is reaching and trying to make my life better. And they talked a bit about the devastation they were looking at. Folks, this wants to be part of Helping Hands. It wants to do something. And I keep trying to emphasize, folks, as we're talking about this today, there's so many different channels that they can help with, but just touch on that for a minute from what you've seen. And it really troubles me when I think about foster care as a whole and the challenges it's got. Now you're telling us there's a whole part of a building washed away that was doing nothing but looking after foster care children. These children didn't have nowhere to go to start with. And now they got nothing to live in. So I'm going to let you pick that up.
Well, first, let me thank these two guys. I've worked with both of them. Physically, I can't do what they do. There's so many different aspects of this situation that it doesn't matter how old you are or how young you are. There's things you can help with. A lot of times people think they can't because of their age or because they're not rich. It has nothing to do with either one of those. One of the things we want to do is go to the distribution center and help them organize. They're trying to work a job, and yet their organization, they've got a lady helping them, but they really need help. So you could be 80 years old and go help with the distribution center organize. There's not that much to it. So I want to engage with people that there's so many things that they can put their hands on and do, that you just don't think you can. But if you can contact one of the three of us, we'll be glad to put you in a direction where you can contact with somebody and find a way of what you would like to do. One of the things that we're looking forward on is I've contacted the Wilmington Celebration Choir, and they're going to come to Clinton and do a fundraiser for us so that we can help get the heaters or whatever it is these people need. It's a big financial burden on everybody with the economy like it is to give what they can. So we're trying to find aspects of ways that we can raise money and get the items that the people need. Also, one of the things we're trying to do is we are going to send letters to churches and ask them if they will go to their congregation and ask each person to give $10. If we put it all together, we've got a good lump sum so we can get utilities turned on for people, so we can help them pay their rent, so we can buy lumber for whatever is needed that has to be done. It's just a lot of different aspects that this thing really has to come together to help these people.
There's also this thing that you and I have discussed too, is that oftentimes there needs to be a structure there, like a 501c3 based on tax donations and that kind of thing. There's a lot of large corps in this area, from what our discussion has been, that's probably willing to step up, but there's got to be certain channels. How hard is that to put together?
Well, we've contacted several food companies that are willing to donate, but they need a 501c in order to be able to send the items to the mountains. So hopefully with the organizations that we have, that people and companies can do that. I realize that each large company needs to be able to donate some things for their tax purposes, but we want to be able to contact people so that they can open up doors and companies to donate and use it as a tax write-off.
Looking at this thing, guys, as we talk about it as a whole, what do you see? I mean, all of you've been up there somewhat recently and so forth. Are we looking at something that we can start seeing clarity maybe in a year, 2 years? Is the roads and the ability to get to the folks that need help? Do you see that improving? And from that perspective, again, this is, you guys represent some very powerful organizations and people dedicated a lot of their lives to this. But is there something that we're missing somewhere that maybe the media hadn't touched on? Or we always call it the mainstream media. I'm thinking it's more now what's on your phone than anything else. Is there something we've missed looking at this effort and what you need, what you're required to have, what you feel like you need to make that step forward?
Something we've missed in regards of
any of it, whether it's supplies, material, place to go. As Clay pointed out, contacts. He gave us an excellent contact system. It just seems to me that there's, and maybe this is something we can get into even more in the next segment, but it just seems to me that there's such a volume. I want to make sure that from your eyes that you allow people to see that there may be that one child or those 10 children that maybe are going to be cold. Or something that struck me just recently was the lack of heated area, and the number of people that was taking these small sheds up just for people to get in, to stay warm. And I'm just wondering, Chris, and listening to the folks with foster care and so forth, I mean, they have a tremendous time anyway. And now when you've gone up there, and the ladies that I was privileged to talk to were just so excited that you were there and what you represented was there. And Clay and Norman, I think the same thing goes for y'all, is that you see this every day. How do you transition that passion to other people and say, look, you got a place here too. It's almost like I see it as a war. You're fighting hunger, you're fighting starvation, you're fighting a child feeling neglected. And at the same time, in our society, we're sitting here seeing, children, and I say children, adolescents shooting each other and everything else. How do we diffuse that and put it in one of these categories? I'm going to pick that up on it coming back, because we're fixing to take another break. But I want to pick that up and just give us from your heart what we need to do and how we need to adjust that channel to focus on that. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back in a moment. We're talking about the needs and the things upcoming in the western part of the state and to help people there. We'll be back in a moment.
At Fisher's, it's not just about fashion. It's about exceptional service. Experience top-notch customer care and find your perfect look. Visit Fisher's today and feel the difference.
Experiencing slow internet? If you have a fast internet package, the problem is most likely your wireless router. With more devices using Wi-Fi, your wireless router may not be able to deliver the speed and coverage you need. We now have the leading solution to enhance your internet experience. Using small devices in a mesh network, these Wi-Fi appliances cover just about any size home so that all your devices can operate to their fullest potential. Whole home Wi-Fi from Star Communications. Get the most out of your internet connection.
If you run a business, you need sales. To get sales, you need customers. To get customers, you need exposure. Let our team of experts craft and produce the perfect video ad to reach your intended audience while making the most of your advertising dollars. Call 1-800-706-6538 or visit starcom.net to contact our Star Communications production team and get your business moving to the next level.
The average American household has 17 devices connected to the internet. With more and more devices able to get online, you may need to increase your internet speed. Call Star Communications today and let us help you select the package that's right for you.
Welcome back, folks. We Should Know's on there. J.W. Simmons, your host. The name of the show is We Should Know. We're talking about the western part of North Carolina, and we're talking with people that not only has been there, but continue to be there. Even though they're here, their mind is still there because they know things needs to be done. We're talking with Pastor Clay Carter, Rowan Baptist Church, and representing also the Baptist men here in North Carolina, and Norman McPhail, who is with the Grateful Shed, and Christian Food Bank from Salemburg, Chris Sessoms, Helping Hands. All of you guys have been knee deep, neck deep, sometimes probably feel like over your head with the western part of the state. It's not going away. There's needs there. What can you say and give us some both visual or just commentary to cause people to say, I can do something? And obviously, each one of you, because you've received that, they can share finances. But Pastor Carter, as you said a while ago, as we were talking a bit on break, sometimes what does it take to get people out of their place of comfort?
Yes,
their
comfort zone.
Chateau or what have you, to step out and say, I'm going to walk into that world.
Yeah.
What does it take?
I think it takes a heart change. As Chris and Norman, they've seen it and I've seen it. And many people have seen it. It's utter devastation there. But we are here and we're comfortable. And as long as we're comfortable, we don't think about those who are not comfortable. But it takes a heart change. And it takes a change of heart. And also to think about what would Jesus do? You know, Jesus was here, which he is with us spiritually. But what would he do? I mean, would he just sit within the four walls of the church, or would he go out to help those, the least of these? I mean, he would go and help. And that's what God has called us to do, to go and help. And like Miss Chris said a moment ago, when I was there in Hendersonville, what I saw was there was some young people, middle-aged people, my age people, but a lot of folks in their 80s. Yes, in their 80s. And there's a lot of folks in their 80s, and they're thinking, well, I don't need to do that. But they can, especially now with the recovery. We're past recovery. With the rebuild, it's a lot easier now. I mean, just putting in insulation or screwing on drywall, it's a lot easier. It's cleaner, of course, than doing a mud out. But anybody can go and help. Anybody that's got time, but it takes a heart change. It's that we got to get rid of the selfishness that a lot of us are consumed with, because we're sitting here in our little ivory towers and we're like, we're okay. But folks just 4.5 hours away from here are not okay. And it's cold up there, and it's going to get colder. And it breaks my heart to see those folks sleeping in tents right now, because I was in the Boy Scouts, and I know what it's like to be outside on a 25-degree night. I mean, it's cold. So everybody can do their part and do something to be involved. And I think we as a community, especially the faith communities, we need to create a desire within people's hearts to want to be engaged, to want to go. In the spring, I've been blessed at Rowan. In the spring of the year, every year, I have college students that come to our community right here in Sampson County and do mission projects. These are college kids now that are on spring break. They could have gone to Daytona Beach, Myrtle Beach, anywhere else for college, but for their break, but they chose to come to Sampson County to either go build wheelchair ramps, trim bushes, pressure wash houses. I had close to 50 college kids last year for a week. And that's what we did. We built wheelchair ramps, pressure wash. So these college kids are willing to give up going to the beach to come and help folks they don't even know, but to come here, they received a blessing. And that's what you'll get by going and getting involved, whatever it is, you'll get a blessing. Not only are you going to bless them, but you'll get a blessing. My very first mission trip, I went to the Florida Keys, the big hurricane, went through Big Pine Key. And a gentleman who was there, he was a white hat site commander for Baptist on Mission. And he told me, he said, Carter, he said, something's going to happen with people when they go on their first mission trip. They're either going to love it or they're going to hate it. And I think if people would just go and experience it, yeah, they'll either love it or they'll hate it. But if they have a good trip, they're going to love it. And then they're going to have that internal desire to want to go back, to want to help, to be the hands and feet of Jesus. So I think that's what we as Christians, believers, need to do. We need to create that desire within people. Yeah, we need to help our community. There's a lot here in our community. I'm getting 1 to 2 calls every week for wheelchair ramps. I mean, every week for wheelchair ramps right here in Sampson County. But also, there's also needs in Western North Carolina. And we can do both. We can balance it and do both, I believe.
Norman, when you hear those comments and look at it from what you've been doing for years, and particularly with helping feed people and fundraising, and when Chris calls and says, can we do a fundraiser for whatever, wheels start turning. One of the things struck me in his commentary just now is that, there are people out there that are older that can do things, they can participate. the other end of that, how do we engage that younger population that may be thinking, well, I don't see where this fits what I do, or I don't have time for it. I mean, you guys take time for it. Somebody else can take time. How do you get them interested in it? I mean, whether it's with cooking food or whether it's with, helping organize the things at the food bank or whatever it may be, how do you get them engaged? And what would you want to say today to that population?
Well, what's worked for us over the last 15 years, and if you've ever seen any of our videos or hung out with us, we have a good time. There's a lot of laughter.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
There's nothing wrong with that. We have a lot of laughter. We have a good time. We enjoy it. We're not there to hover over the volunteers. We let them go where their gifts lead them and let them do it and get out of the way. But that has worked at our food bank for, like I said, for 15 years. And there's a lot of young folk involvement there every third Saturday. Mm-hmm. And like I said, we have a good time. We make it enjoyable, and we get out of the way. As what worked for us all these years. And I want to touch on something he said. What you can give. There's a couple that live here outside of Clinton and work here in Clinton, and the wife is battling cancer. Mm-hmm. And I know this couple well. And the husband called me and said, "Come by my place of work before you go to the mountains. I want to contribute." And when I went by there, he gave me $20. He said, "This is all we can afford right now, but we wanted to do something." And he gave what they had. And it reminded me so much of the little boy when Jesus fed the 5,000. Jesus easily could have fed those folks and everywhere around there. But that boy gave what he had. Mm-hmm. And Jesus done the rest. But to me, because there's people that gave so much, and there's people in this community that are comfortable, and we are blessed. But when that man gave me that $20 and said that's all they had, that was what resonated with me. Is if you can just give what you have and let Jesus do the rest. It's like the
Chris,
loaves and the fishes.
That kind of gets back to what you were talking about a while ago as far as fundraising, is having folks in faith-based organizations to have the opportunity to give that 10, 20, 5, whatever it may be. We call them in our church, we call them love offerings. Is that something needs to be kind of refocused on now to help organizations like what all of y'all represent to move forward? Because it takes certain things for you to operate.
Yes. I want to speak about one of the girls I met in the mountain sent me a text that a girl had sent her. She was wanting information on how to protect her car because she was going to be living in it with her 3 children. She had nowhere to go. And she was telling them to put a tarp over her car. Just going through that information, I was so stunned. First of all, how do you feed 3 kids in a car? How do you prepare food for them? I mean, we just don't realize the facets of what these people are living in just to survive. That was Christmas. She didn't have gifts to give her kids. All she was wanting to know was, how can I keep my kids warm and survive through this? And I'll speak about Norman with the food bank. If you want to be able to be a part of the family, when you start giving or when you start helping, it becomes a family. They look after each other's back. And I can say that with food bank because I've helped them many times. But there's a bond there that you will never receive anywhere else. And I guess it's a bond that God gives you. But as far as people helping, to me, and it's awful to say, but God has given us a test. He keeps saying, as Clay said, go out amongst the people. That's where he wants us to be. He wants us to help those in need. And we really need to be on our knees and asking God, what can I do? Because If you were fixing to put your child in a car to live, there's nowhere to turn from there. I mean, you don't have a job, you don't have anything. And then what happens if your car's not paid off and they're going to come get your car? You know, these people really need help.
We're going to continue that conversation after this break. Stay tuned, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be back in a moment.
You're out for an evening on the town. Finally a chance to relax and forget that you left your front door completely unlocked. Fortunately, you just installed a security system from Star Communications. With just your cell phone, you can check on your house, lock it down, light it up, and get back to relaxing.
He forgot to put Buster in his crate.
Unfortunately, we can't help with that. Security and automation from Star Communications. Call today to find out more.
Providing fewer commutes, more backyard offices, and crystal clear meetings. Providing less, you froze up, and more presence in your presentations. Providing a better internet experience. Providing possible.
At the Reedy Mark, we take pride in a unique, distinguished customer experience. We specialize in handcrafted cocktails, allocated bourbons, as well as gourmet signature food items exclusive to our menu at the Reedy Mark in Roseboro.
Unity in the community. January 18th, State of Opportunity, North Carolina presents The Dream Lives On March here in the city of Clinton. Starts at 9 a.m. at the Farmers Market. It's going to be great.
Welcome to Cork and Brew Roseboro, where you can enjoy your favorite coffee, fraps, smoothies, bakery items, sandwiches, and select beer and wines while reconnecting with friends and family. Sit down and enjoy the experience. Come on by and give us a try.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We Should Know's on there. I'm J.W. Simmons, your host, and the name of the show is We Should Know. And there's a lot of things we should know about this particular show that we have done today. We're coming up on the last segment. It really gets to the heartfelt reality of all of us, of about what we understand to be, about what reality is, about what happens in your life when you hit that storm. And the storm we've seen play out in Helena is a storm that has devastated geography, lives, people, and our ability to survive. Folks, I want to thank you for being with us. And as we go to our last segment today, Chris Sessoms and Norma McPhail and Pastor Clay Carter, off camera, sometimes, when we're off camera and we're talking, we hit some of those key issues. Norman, you touched on a lot of stuff as we were on off camera a while ago about this whole thing about individuals and how we relate to needs of others. And you mentioned something that struck me. You're exactly right. We spend a lot of time with our pets now and making sure not only that they're groomed, but they have a warm place to stay and they have special food to eat. And it just struck me, man, what a powerful point, because Chris, you just pointed out a lady that you talked to that's in the western part of the state right now, trying to figure out how to survive in a car with 3 children. Let's have that conversation as we close our last segment.
As you brought up when we were off camera a couple of times, the society in which we find ourselves living is so messed up. Well, this world has always been messed up when we got here, when we leave. And if we go back, and our society wants to create laws and regulations to fix these problems. But what we got to remember is Adam and Eve had one law, just one. Mm-hmm. And they couldn't keep it. That's right. The only law that works is love. Mm-hmm. Love God, love one another. And in that love, we show mercy to each other, whether we're deserving or not. Mm-hmm. But love is the only thing that's going to work to correct our society. Love is the only thing that's going to work in the western part of our state, is love of God and love of each other.
I agree. Yeah.
You follow up?
I agree with that. That's Norman. You're exactly right, because that's what Jesus preached. I mean, to love God and love your neighbor as yourself. I mean, we have neighbors. The people in Western North Carolina, they are our neighbors. You know, and if we're sitting here saying, well, I don't have time, or I don't have the resources, or I don't want to go. I mean, basically we're saying to Jesus that what you said is not true. But right. We're basically looking at Jesus saying, you know, I don't believe in you. But we are too. It's the basis of love. You know, right? Norman's right. We are to love, and we have to show love to these individuals. Our government's not going to do it. I mean, go back to the book of Acts and what the early church did. Yes. I mean, the early church, everybody put all their proceeds together, and the church took care of their people. I mean, we need to go back to that type of society of the early church, because we can't depend on the government, but we can depend on the Lord, and we can depend on God's church and God's people. And those are the individuals that need to step up to be the hands and feet of Jesus, is God's people and God's church to help those with need right now.
Chris, I see a theme coming through here. Some time back, you decided to get involved and push forward an organization called Helping Hands, which was literally by the title, by the name, hands helping people. What we're really into now is this world where we have not only got to have those helping hands, but we're trying to say there's a reason those hands are willing to help. Do you see a transitional moment here in time for us as we look at the western part of the state, as you go through what you've gone through, and each one of you, is this a transitional period for us to start realizing the importance of what we're now talking about?
One of the comments I have made to people several times during this project, and not stepping on any toes, just being perfectly honest, we appreciate everything everybody's given, but if you've gone through your closet and you've gotten clothes and you've sent it, and that's all you've done, shame on you. God wants to know that we give something up to help others. He wants us to know that we have reached in our pockets, or we have given our time. He wants to know that we have almost suffered in our own way to help others. That's what he did for us. He suffered for us. He showed us that love by suffering. You know, at Christmas time, I thought, what if none of us spent Christmas on ourselves and we gave it all to the mountains? How far would that go? Mm-hmm. You know, that's love. When you give up something that is yours, no matter what it is, that means something to you. I had a lady yesterday message me. She had put on Facebook that she had some coats that she wanted to give away. And I told her that we could use them in the mountains, and they were already gone. And she said, but I can certainly go buy some. And I thought, wow, what a big comment. Mm-hmm. You know, that this is a person who's willing to give something up of her own to help somebody. And that's mm-hmm. what God's looking at. He's looking to see, here's a huge need right out our back door. Yeah. And are we willing to give something of ourselves to help others? That's love.
When we look at 2025, we're at that window now. We're at not only at the precipice, we have stepped into a new year of 2025. Each one of you in the organizations you represent, what would you like to see change, either emotionally, spiritually, otherwise, looking forward at 2025? And I'll tap into each one of you quickly as I can get you through, because we're going out of time shortly. But I'm going to start with you, Norman. You kind of led us down this path here of looking at ourselves from a spiritual context of why we do it. But 2025, when you look at where you are, when you look at the Grateful Shed, when you look at Christian Food Bank, what do you want that to be? You've already told us a lot. But what do you see for 2025?
What I would like to see, and the pastor's already touched on it, in Acts chapter 2, we're given a blueprint on what our church and our community should look like. And so many times over the last 15 years, Sampson County and this community has come together by that blueprint where people come together, not necessarily in a church building, but they come together. Of course, in Acts chapter 2, they always ate. So that's a big part of what we do. They always got together. They ate. And they, if somebody had a need, they met it. And it's amazing how it works. And if we're not careful, we get away from that and get into religion. And we can get away from that very easily. So I would like to see us all focus on, learn, and understand Acts chapter 2.
Pastor Clay, I want to kind of give you a moment there to reflect on that.
Yeah, I agree with Norm. But also, that passage that comes to my mind is for us to go forward with is to deny ourselves, to pick up our cross daily, and to follow Jesus.
Yes.
But to deny ourselves, and it goes right back to what we've been discussing for the past hour is, to give up of our time, our resources, our energy, our talents to use for the Lord, but to pick up our cross. God has given us a mandate. It's like he's saying, okay, here's the situation. What are you going to do with it? That's what he's telling to God's people, to us. What are you going to do with this? How are you going to help? And it's up to the church to help, to us to help.
Chris, one of the things you kind of pointed out too, a lot of this is a individual thing. People's got to say to themselves, it's individualize it. It's not necessarily about Helping Hands or Grateful Shed or the Baptist Men, but it's about that individual. You mentioned that, and I just wondered if you're hopeful that other people may step up and say, I want to be one of those hands that helps.
I hope they do. I hope they do for just the joy it brings them. Yes. When you help other people, I can't even tell you the joy that you receive. Like the girls that we spoke to, the happiness they felt that they could help others. But you can't outgive God. I don't care if it's with money, if it's with happiness, whatever it is. You can't outgive Him. But just the bond that I made with those girls, they are weekly texting me about what's going on. And that's something that is a treasure to me. The connection I've made with Norman and with Clay throughout the different functions, those people are precious to me. When you have a need, you can go to either one of them and say, look, here's a concern and a need I have, and they'll step up to the plate.
So basically, as we kind of come to the closure today, this whole idea of caring and sharing is not only personal, but it's an open door. If you want to get involved, if you want to be part of, I hear each one of you saying, we're here. And the we is that there's people already on that train. All you got to do is just say, I want to step on. And you can get them there. So I want to thank you, and not only you, but everybody that you work with and all those folks that, are out there that are contemporaries that you see on a regular basis that step up. And sometimes, Norman, it's those things that you didn't expect to be in the western part of the state. Same thing with the Baptist Men, same thing with Helping Hands. But this is just one county, and people do care. People are surrendering their time. So again, thank you, Pastor Clay. Thank you, Chris Sessoms. And Norman, thank you, and keep doing what you're doing, because this community and this state needs that, and we must have it to survive. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for being with us. We look forward to seeing you again next week right here on We Should Know. And as always, may God bless.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of We Should Know with host J.W. Simmons. If you have a question, comment, or suggestion regarding this or any episode, please send your emails to weshouldknowedu@gmail.com. And remember to tune in every Tuesday at 2:30 for another informative episode of We Should Know.